Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me is my trusty co-host with the English accent, Simon Winch. We're going to go ahead and avoid all the fan mail so we can get to this episode, but they love the accent.
It gets me in nothing but trouble. And he's instantly recognisable. I'm getting pulled over now. Are you that guy on that podcast? Oh, shit.
It's hard to ignore it. It's hard to shy away from it, especially in this town when, and the response from Franklin County and Rocky Mount's been tremendous over the past month. Where we used to be happy with a certain amount of, metrics being a certain number. At the end of 1 week, we're now getting halfway through day one. So a whole new listening base. So everybody out there that's sending us messages and saying how much you appreciate it and enjoy it. Hey, thank you so much. Go back. We've got a ton of great episodes you can listen to. A handful of them featuring Simon. You could probably search his name in the search bar.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Some phenomenal shows. So, and we got some great ones coming forward. For everybody out there still holding around waiting for the part 2 of our conversation with Darnell and Brian Moore or the Abe Naff episode, you can always go on Patreon. We've got some new subscribers this week, including our guest here today. So we appreciate everybody. Every little bit helps. It's only $3 a month. And you're supporting us. We're kind of like the band that goes around, but we don't have a tip jar sitting in front of us. And I know y'all tip Josh Grace really good, and he's just, you could do a lot better. So
he's very mediocre. Mediocre.
Well, most of the time he's playing on the corner of Williamson and Hirschberger over there. He typically stands at the intersection next to the no U-turn sign.
He's got the drum on his back, the cymbal on the foot.
He's begging you to take his CD. So
I'm sorry, Josh.
I've seen you all put tips in his jar before, so it's like a tip jar. It helps us out. It helps us promote the show, it's hitting cheap. It's not very expensive, but it definitely ain't cheap. You got to provide your guests with proper beer and alcohol and food at times, and the upkeep and everything. So we appreciate all the new people that have been on here, all the new people listening to Patreon. And I was thinking maybe at some point in time, as part of our subscriber package, we can do, maybe Simon and I can do once a week a 30-minute rant or so, because I can just call him on Zoom. He can sit there in the comfort of his own home, and for 30 minutes we'll go over whatever a couple big news stories of the weeks are and just rant about them. Maybe bring in somebody else and put that on the subscriber page. That way you get a little bit of extra over there for your contributions.
I do like to think that I'm an expert ranter.
Well, that's the beauty part of it. Get on there, you find, and these days you can find 2 things in half a day that you want to rant on.
It doesn't take much, does it? We're in dire times right now, so we can rant about just about anything that's out there.
And it only costs $0.10 a day.
Yeah, it's cheap as chips.
But that's not. You can also pledge more. You don't have to be at $3 if you want to give $10. Say, hey, those guys are worth $10. Hey, the sky's the limit. So we do appreciate all that. It does help pay the bills. And this episode also is brought to you by Rocky Mount Burger Company. Got a funny story about them. That's down at 347?
467.
467 Franklin Street. I need to get that in my memory bank. But
it's in your car autopilot, so don't worry about it.
Well, they're sponsoring us today for a number of reasons. One, great story from this weekend. So my wife and I went down to do her parents' 50th anniversary down in Tazewell County. And on the way back, her friend who couldn't make it was going to swing through and stay here for the evening because she had something to do in Roanoke. So I was like, well, what are we going to tell her to eat at? And we went over the couple places that were open. And we said, Buddy's or the burger company. He's like, we got a shit ton of barbecue left over from the venue. I don't want to eat. I'm eating on barbecue all week long. So let's get there. But the catch was we were going to get there right at like 7:30 if we didn't stop. So I don't want to be the asshole that shows up at 7:45, and
7:30.
Yeah, I don't want to be the asshole that shows up. Yeah, and makes you have to go in there and start cooking when you're cleaning everything up. So we hauled down, figured maybe they just let the baby sleep till Roanoke. Of course, he woke up around Christiansburg, coming down the interstate, trying to go and got him all the way down the road. We get here, we stop. Run in the back seat, get the baby, hand him to my wife, let her feed him in the front seat. We run inside so we can order the drinks. And then we sit down. She comes in, and of course, she's got a really awful, shitty diaper as well. So now she's got to go in the back room and change all it. I'm like, well, I'll just, I'll keep ordering drinks out here for you. So we did make it, and the food was great. And I don't think she was none too pleased with me for ditching her to get in and get the drinks. But, I wanted to be last call.
This could be a pronoun thing. I think it's a male thing.
It most definitely is. it's a
Yeah.
pride thing too. I don't want to stop, because once you stop, you've given up all hope, and we all got to have hope at all points in time. So yeah, Rocky Mountain Burger Company, phenomenal place. You can always go in there and probably find Paul Hall sitting at the bar drinking one if you want to tell racing stories or floating stories, and a plethora of other people. And I feel like here in the future, maybe we can find some nights where we'll
I think a live podcast down
yeah, a
there
live
would be just
podcast in there.
hysterical.
get somebody going.
Yeah. I mean, let's start it off at like 10 o'clock at the, 10 o'clock at night.
There you go.
Everyone's good and lubed.
Exactly.
Dutch courage. Love it.
That would work out just magnificently. I think that's it's in the works. We did do one live one at one point in time, but it went okay. It was with Paul Hall, actually, and of course he was red as a beet. I'm like, how can you be nervous as hell? You will rocket on wheels, and you're up here. You're supposed to be good at this for sponsors and stuff like that. And I think we hear the meat wagons swinging by. Normally you don't pick up on this, but Lordy.
Yeah, it's getting busy.
Well, I hope they ain't coming here for us, no. So, that being said, tonight we're welcoming our guest from last week, Bryan Hochstein, back from the Rocky Mountain Burger Company to sit here and pick up where we left off last week. And I know a lot of y'all had some great things to say about last week's episode. We tried to present it to you in a way that it could all be digested fairly easy, and most of your comments came back fairly positive. So, we wanted to pick back up.
We got a couple of ghost people coming in that appear
aliases
that appear to have a fairly close association with the administration and town council that are ghosting us, perhaps.
They're definitely making comments in disguise as people who appear to have a lot of inside information. They're not really fooling us. But we welcome them to continue on, and at some point in time, if you ever like to put a face to it, because at some point in time, a lot of people are going to be
I prefer they put a name to it and grow a pair.
Well, there you go.
Oh, sorry, said it out loud. There we go.
So, let's pick back up from last week, and I think the EDA was kind of a big focal point. I've had a handful of people hit me up talking about it over the week, making some suggestions and asking me to look into things. You actually ran across some people, Simon, with some concerns, but
yeah, that was the funny one that I had, and that this is going to probably evolve into another show. Bearing in mind that Franklin County is predominantly an agricultural industrial county, and I want to do a farming piece, and something came up about the EDA, and I went, what the hell has the EDA got to do with what we're discussing? And I'll bring the particular query up on that particular show. But it does beg the question, what is the EDA?
and who makes up the EDA?
I'm
just sure that it's out there. But
I know we've got some great citizens behind it that are looking out for the best interests, presenting projects that need financial support and all that good stuff. But what is the entity that created the EDA? Who's behind it? Who are the trustees, or directors, or whatever this entity is, and on what basis it was set up? There's a lot of questions behind the EDA, and they are not openly available, let me tell you this. I think Brian's had some interesting challenges in trying to find out the full story. And if we're looking at some of the press on what the EDA is, you can swing around and go, oh, excellent, okay, this sounds really good. But then there's a void. And voids make me suspicious. So I'm hoping that we can get some questions answered. The EDA can actually step forward. And let's not do this through FOIA requests and all the good stuff. Let's have just a transparent conversation about it. Because you're an integral part of the development of downtown Rocky Mount, and certain entities, the Harvester being one of them, that have garnished your support. So I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Now, Brian, what have you got to say about that?
A couple things. First of all, I think it was a pretty good lead-in. So the origins of the EDA, as far as I can tell, date back to August 13th, 2012. So just over 10 years ago at a town council meeting. I wish I had downloaded all the town minutes, because whoever set up the new town website, I mean, I think I said last time, they crapped it,
Well, why was it? And there's another question that I would have perhaps for the town council or the administrators or the IT department within the town council. Why would you not archive this whole correspondence and document trail rather than completely delete it and make it unacceptable?
Well, it's definitely archived, because no one, I mean, and I know I have
But
many.
now it takes FOIA requests to get it. Why not just archive it so that we can access it?
Oh, I agree. No, I think it should be.
Just a question.
Oops, lost myself there. There, I'm back.
Oh, you were always here.
Oh, okay. Shut the front door.
There we go.
Okay. So anyway, August 13th, 2012, consideration of draft ordinance creating an economic development authority. And I'm just going to read the minutes, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. So the mayor recessed the meeting to hold a public hearing regarding council's consideration of draft ordinance creating an economic development authority, (EDA), in relation to the performance center. The assistant town manager informed town council of the following. Dun, 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 dun. The town's legal counsel, in setting up and selling the historic property tax credits, which will fund a significant portion of the former Lynch Hardware Building renovation, is Gentry Lock, Rakes, and More of Roanoke. Their attorney, their attorney leading the work, Mr. Bruce Stockberger, has recommended that the town establish an economic development authority, (EDA). Second bullet. The arm's length requirement is necessary because a municipality cannot directly recoup the tax credits. The tax law has extensive requirements that are in place to protect both the owner and investors. Meeting those requirements starts with establishing an entity which can serve as the private sector face of the project for 5 years after construction is complete, meeting the requirements of the tax code. There's actually a lot to unpack there.
5 years being one of them. That was in 2012.
Yeah, and the construction was completed in 2014. So 2019 would have been 5 years. And yes.
So at that point, you would expect the EDA and any liabilities, commitments, contracts, and so forth would have expired by 2019 with that 5 year rule. Perhaps.
So as I understand the tax credits, they were of a 10-year expiration. But
what was the 40-year lease? I know we discussed this last time, and this is...
So the 40-year lease, so the town owns the building. If you go to the GIS site, you're going to see Town of Rocky Mount owns 450 Franklin Street, which is the Harvester. And municipalities, and this kind of states a little bit to it, they can't directly recoup the tax credits. Well, they also, according to IRS Title 38, cannot own the building. But they need to lease it. And what they ended up doing, and I have to go back and look at the project, the Performance Center project, they lease it to the EDA, and then the EDA leased it again. But according to the IRS, you only get one lease of 40 years, not two. And that was, so that is something that needs to be looked at. But when you read these minutes, I mean, and this is where lawyers know just a lot more. But when they say a municipality cannot
think they do.
Well, right, but in the language here, municipality cannot directly recoup the tax credits. So the lawyer is helping them skirt the rules to indirectly sell the tax credits.
Is that the question here? That would be my workaround, because if that's the stated position that you cannot directly own, well, then you indirectly own it. How do you do that? Oh, well, I'll speak to some legal chappie who is going to give me the workaround.
Well, he's going to give you...
fair enough.
Yeah, but he's going to give you a $95,000 line item in an invoice. That we talked about last time. I mean, there's no description. There's no, what's the work product here? Oh, it's $95,000. Don't look behind the door here,
Okay, be careful the one you open.
But then, so then we get this other line. The tax law has extensive requirements that are in place to protect both the owner and investors. Well, who are the investors?
There are no investors. We, the taxpayers, are the investors.
I've got the invoices from Price Construction that show the $2.3 million was paid by the town. So who are these investors that are going to sell the tax credits and then remunerate the town with those proceeds?
Well, by definition, we have to assume. Oh, God, there's the assume. Just remember the first three letters of that spelling.
Well, the last three are good, too.
Yeah, oh, you can do.
Because it implicates us, right?
Oh, yeah. But let's assume then that as taxpayers within Rocky Mount, we are the investors. So the investors are Rocky Mount taxpayers. I think that's pretty fair to assume.
It is,
by that very clear definition.
But it really comes back to who is in control of that money, and it's always easier to spend OPM, other people's money.
Yep.
And this is where, and I need to back up a little bit. I love the harvester. It has to succeed.
We are 100% in agreement with that.
And I know there's a campaign of misinformation out there on a whole bunch of topics, but let it be said, and I'm going to say it here. I speak for Bryan. Bryan wants the harvester to succeed.
We all say that. I mean, I think there's everyone that we've spoken to, whether it's online, offline, in the street, down in the supermarket, at the burger company, pretty much everyone swings around and says, this is definitely going to put Rocky Mount on the map. We are staggered that it hasn't thus far, but it needs to succeed. Simple as that.
At this point in time, you've already come this far.
We're committed. Yeah. This is a commitment.
We want to see it managed properly, ran properly, and be more transparent with the books, with the numbers. How much are we spending? Why are we spending this much?
But reviewing back over this, I think is very important, and the FOIA requests and just the diligence that Bryan has been able to put this together gives us such an insight into the machinations of the administration. And, I'm not swinging around and having a crack at town councillors. I'm going to have a pop at the mayor because he's guiding the ship. He's at the helm. But, the machinations here are there's a smoke screen where there shouldn't be one. So when you see a smoke screen that shouldn't be there, one has to start asking questions. And this is what we're doing. So don't take it negatively. We're not here to beat the crap out of the harvester. We want this venue to work. There's been so much money and time and goodwill invested in this development. But, we're talking about live music. Live music, just lifts the soul. So if we can't get on board with this...
And live music shouldn't be this complicated.
It should
a music venue shouldn't be this complicated.
I mean, it's...
You would think.
We
8-9 LLCs? I mean, what does it take?
Yeah, and I mean, how much money has been squandered? How much money is unaccounted for? How much money just disappeared into thin air? I mean, these are valid questions. These are questions that not only taxpayers in this town and this county should be asking, but other taxpayers around the state or maybe around the country who maybe state or federal grants came into here. I'm not exactly sure how deep that goes, but somewhere down the line, if you're getting a grant, somebody somewhere is paying for it that didn't ask to pay for it. It's that simple. That's just...
And the method the method that we have with being disgruntled taxpayers or disgruntled residents of Rocky Mount is you get 3 minutes to rant and rave at the town council where there is no obligation for them to answer you. In fact, they'll ignore you. They'll roll their eyes in the back of their head. They might come out and shake your hand afterwards, but then they go back into their den of iniquity and, continue to be the nest of vipers. So they disengage, and there is no engagement, and there is no exposure, there is no transparency. So this has to change, and what we're seeing here is an abuse And this smoke screen that I keep talking about, we want answers. Now, we've got questions. Now, if you present them at the town council meeting, well, you'll just hear sucking teeth. And I'm done with that. So, town council, step up. Administration, step up. Have open meetings. Have questions and answers. Have fire hall meetings. Town meetings. Expose yourself. And not in that way.
That's right. So I did download several of the years that were available online prior to the town really blowing the new website is awful. I'm sorry. Yeah. And the implementation is almost as bad as their information system called Munis. It's really mucus. People who are putting the information in, do your job and get the job finished. It's awful. If you're in finance, if you're leading finance at the town of Rocky Mount, I realize you just came into the job. Start to get it together, please. Okay. Sorry to get on my soapbox there.
You're more than welcome.
So
takes a bit of pressure off of me, let me tell you.
The beauty is, 4 weeks from tonight, if I heard correctly, Midwood Entertainment is going to come to present, I guess, to the EDA. The EDA meets every other month, so it's every odd month. So they'll meet in November, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, 4 weeks from today. And I think it's really important to actually get information before the meeting so that you can then absorb it, understand it more, and have questions that are more pertinent and relevant to making the harvester a success.
Well, they need to be presented these questions ahead of time so that they are able to answer them at the point of their scheduled meeting, which I think, quite frankly, when you're dealing with the sums of money that the EDA is dealing with, meeting twice a month is farcical.
Once every 2 months.
Once every 2 months. That is farcical. So I'll leave that one well alone and someone else can pick up the shrapnel from that one.
But if you're also cutting six-figure checks, handwritten, by the way, that's a problem as well.
Absolutely.
Let's show a little professionalism. Let's button up here.
Yeah.
It does not need to be a handwritten check with one signature.
So we need some of these questions to be answered at the night of this meeting.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And I haven't counted, but I've got at least 24 questions.
Let's go over some of them here, because this is also open to the public, if I'm not mistaken. So,
and yes, I mean,
can the public ask questions? Will they take them?
I don't know if you can have the 3 minutes in which you get in front, and you get that doe-eyed look. Because
so now we have an unelected body, the EDA, that is supported by volunteers, which we are very thankful for. I know they've got their best interests, and everything they're trying to do is probably above board.
Yeah, and outside of the chairman, a couple of them are really good people.
Yep. So, and I'd love to hear their response. I mean, get onto the podcast and let's have some comments back and forth. But, so you need to be you cannot be an unelected body with the sums of money that are coming from
the town
or grants or whatever it may be. You cannot function without accountability, and you need to be able to respond to the residents and taxpayers of Rocky Mount with the questions that they have. Now, are you prepared to do that? Big question. So let's go through some of these questions, because there's some really good ones in here.
Let's skip that first one just because that's out of order. But I actually think it would be really good to get profit and loss by show for fiscal year 22, which is July 1st of 2021 to June 30th of 2022. Actually, since we're now into the next quarter, we could probably extend that to September 30th of 2022. But get a profit and loss by each show. So how much did you pay for the band?
Now, is that an EDA thing? Because
this would be something to ask Midwood.
Right, but they're not actually controlling that revenue, are they? Because apparently what was the percentage we discussed going to CB of sales when it comes to...
Okay, so now you're actually asking a question that I don't know the answer to. So, you know what? So that's actually really, it's pretty profound. Who controls the purse string? So money is being written from the EDA to the harvester. What happens to that money when it hits the harvester bank account? And is that bank account at American National Bank or Carter Bank? Because I heard that the town just abruptly pulled all accounts out of Carter and moved it to American National.
When did they do that, by the way?
A few months ago.
Oh, a few months ago.
But I don't know if the harvester went with it.
Is American National the new bank that's on the hill?
Yeah.
On 220?
Yep.
Got that nice big development?
Because where money's going, when it's being received, where it's going.
That's actually but
who's
that's really good because
transferring it?
Does it then go to Midwood or does it stay at the harvester? And does somebody else?
This accounting transparency is just in the toilet.
You know what? You caught me off guard there. Sorry about that.
There we go. I'm good at that.
So, but there should be a profit and loss.
Absolutely, somewhere.
You know, I'd want to know how much money is spent on marketing.
Well, is concessions considered part of their income?
Oh, it should. Well, I think it should be.
Absolutely. Who's paying for the beer that's being put behind the bar?
And then where do the proceeds go once they sell the beer?
Do we have commingling?
Well,
did I make that suggestion? I mean, because that's what I'm going. The path I'm going down is commingling. Something. Am I not the only one that is smelling a really dirty little rat?
Well, I don't, and that's a really So there's I would love to see ticket sales and the attendance for each show, and here's the reason. Back in March,
paying tickets and attendance is two very different things from apparently how certain members of the administration seem to walk in through the back door, take front row seats, and lord it up.
Yes, actually, I did bring that up at a town council meeting in my 3 minutes. And
you did well to do that in 3 minutes.
And, the mayor finds the harvester as his own little playground. So he would, get these, he would be gifted these tickets. Now, the harvester is a for-profit entity.
You can't gift anything.
And so there are certain limits.
But it's a monetary value. So if it was a monetary value, was that in his tax return?
That's a great question.
I'm full of them.
And I don't know how many people are familiar with the IRS Form 211, but that is...
I believe it's about to come front and center.
That the Form 211 is probably something that needs to be... If somebody files a 211, then the IRS may pick it up and say, you know what? We would like to find out more and see if you have reported all the income, and in-kind donations do count as income.
Yes, they do. Oh dear, they appear to have pissed off the wrong two people.
But the EDA, I would love it if they would get ticket sales and attendance for each show. And the reason I ask is because I took my family, we went to see the Eli Young Band. They had Crazy Girl, some single. It was very good. It was an outstanding show. Standing room only. They had the gold section partition. There were like 50 of us, and then there was the backbenchers and the general administration. There were like 50 of them, and I was, and it was wonderful. Except,
so you're saying, Brian, that you were in the posh seats?
I thought it would have been a sellout. I really did, and so I'd really like to see what the ticket sales and the attendance were. This was post mask, I believe, because I'm not going to wear the mask. Not going to go to a show with a mask.
Neither are we.
And but so what for each show? They only did 50 shows in the year from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th of 2022 that I could find, and I've got the list of those shows. Actually, I have most of them.
These numbers all paint a picture, so I don't think that's an unreasonable request. And if they don't have them, I'd say why the hell not? Because that is an integral part of their business.
Yes, and you want it they should treat each show like a project, and you assess how the project was. Was it a success or not? Where can we improve? Where did we stumble? And you do this. And if you're a professional organization, you do this for every show.
You've got track record. You know what works, what doesn't work.
Exactly.
Simple as that. But transparency.
Yeah.
Because I'm very concerned about how the town manager and assistant town manager, with a combined salaries minimum of $250,000, manage to subcontract this element with the harvester and performing acts. This is not rocket science. Let me tell you. So they've shirked it, and at what cost? What is their cut?
Well, there's actually that leads into a question: who are the officers? Who are the equity holders of the Harvester Performance Center? And are they compensated?
Well, I want to know how much Midwood are paid per show. Or is it a percentage? Is it a percentage of what?
Yeah.
Let's establish that, because I've got no idea where this third party comes from. I don't know where it's accounted for in the expenses for the harvester or whatever shell company they're trying to hide behind it. So you need to come out with some numbers, my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually need to address a couple interesting pieces. Midwood, when they took over the management of the Harvester was their third venue to be under management by Midwood. At last count, I think they're up to 9 venues. One of them as close as Lynchburg. So is there any issue in the radius?
I'm sure there's that catchment area would be very, very relevant to the Harvester.
And when you look at some of the other venues, some of them have a lot more activity than the Harvester, and it begs the question, why?
Again, we're coming down to this conflict of interest. I mean, success breeds success. It can also breed something a little bit more
Well, it would seem that, one solution, because we do like talking about solutions on here, that perhaps the assistant town manager position should be gone anyway, but perhaps take that position and split it up into 2, since that's an absorbent amount of money for an assistant to a town this small, and pay 2 people to run the harvester. That way you're not outsourcing.
Yeah, front of house, back of house. I think that's a great idea. Well, you're not losing any money, but you're gaining 2 employees dedicated to the success of the harvester, and you can incentivize them.
And you're not outsourcing it to
a third party that, quite frankly, has failed miserably. So, who's the assistant town manager?
It's Mark Moore.
Start packing.
Well, he does every night. He drives home to Pennsylvania County.
Wow, I'm not quite sure whether under what contracts he has, but
it actually says he's supposed to live in the town. Now, I believe he rents a room, but.
Well, that's that convenient. That's another shell game.
Well, yeah, when you reckon that, you could probably find them.
But I need to caution you. You can't. The town cannot employ people who will run the harvester, because this is where they're going to get in some tax return problems. That would be an in-kind donation. The harvester must recognize that free labor as the value that the town is paying the individual.
Well, we're not saying that would be free labour. The salary that is paid currently to the assistant town manager would be far better paid to 2 dedicated employees of the harvester that is for profit and goes through all the tax books, and we can incentivise them with how successful they are.
Okay.
But that's where some of the confusion, because is harvester a for-profit or non-profit? Because I know you had some documents earlier that were kind of...
Well, it's for profit, and it's always been, because that's how you get tax. You can't, a nonprofit cannot get the tax credits in the way they structured that performance center project.
What does the Virginia Code state with regards to non-profit or for-profit? Because I believe, again, we stumble across another not necessarily conflicting standpoint, but we're running into the no man's land and grey area that Just why is this so bloody complicated?
Well, I think what you're talking about is when they had the meeting in 2012.
Yes.
Then they went off and the town had to vote to create the EDA.
Right.
And then they have they update their Muni code and they have created the EDA. And one of the lines there is the authority is created for all purposes set out in Virginia Code 15.2-4901 of the Act and shall have all public and corporate powers granted under the Act. And so when you go to 15.2-4901, there is a really interesting paragraph. It's on the search of doing economic development. This is the only paragraph that pops up. It is further the intent of the legislature and shall be the policy of the Commonwealth to grant to industrial development authorities the powers contained herein with respect to facilities for museums and historical education, demonstration, and interpretation, together with any and all buildings, structures, or other facilities necessary or desirable in connection with the foregoing for use by nonprofit organizations in order to promote tourism and economic development in the Commonwealth. And then it continues a little bit more.
So they set up a for-profit when all they needed to do was set up a non-profit in this particular regard.
True. But in my estimation, I'm going to use the term.
But now we're talking about tax credits,
right?
So that's a different subject entirely.
When they're going for tax credits, they created the harvester as a for-profit entity. But when you go back and look at the Virginia Code on EDA, the establishment of an EDA, it's not like there's probably a loophole in there. I mean, it's 4 pages of packed information here, but
it's like an attorney just threw up on the page.
But it talks about, health and medical, agricultural.
Your research is extensive, Brian. I take my hat off to you. You've got the patience of Job.
Housing. Actually, I don't know if it's a patience of Job, the perseverance really of Job. I mean,
there you go.
That dude.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
He had something going on, didn't he? But I believe some of it must have rubbed off on you because.
So basically, we're saying the EDA is supposed to be set up for nonprofits, but the EDA has some kind of controller stake in the harvester, which is a for-profit. So they're mingling around tax credits and
not necessarily, because the for-profit was set up because of these tax credits that they're not allowed to sell, and now we go into which is why they lease the building. Now, the EDA only have a controlling interest for 5 years. The lease can't be released, and there's something about it was leased for 40 years. There's so many questions that this just unravels. It's like that bloody onion, it's just another layer, and it just makes you cry. I'm just sick of it.
That's like Shrek,
It is, isn't
I'm like an onion. Layers. I have layers. All right.
But it's so complex and, it shouldn't be.
But that's where, and this meeting, the EDA really encouraged you, EDA, to get the information. And you should get things like the harvester's contract with Midwood, if you don't have it already. You should get copies of the corporate documents.
That's a definite key issue. I would really, really be interested to see corporate documents for the EDA.
I found
it's why have we got to look for these?
Well, it's funny because I went on to the state of Virginia's entity search for the State Corporation Commission. Anyway, one of the interesting documents I found was that it was either Performance Center Building or Performance Center Manager. It had expired. And Gentry Locke notified Matt Hankins, the former assistant town manager, and said, hey, it expired. So then in the search, I can actually find the document that Matt Hankins had to sign and send in $175 because he let that LLC expire. And
that's schoolboy shit right there.
But that LLC was the one that was getting the tax credits. So
that's the last one that you could afford to let expire.
And I didn't find any of the others that had expired. So I'm sitting there again, like, if you're paying for one, how do you not just do it 7 times? Or whatever the number of LLCs is. But anyway, so get the corporate documents, because this is a huge question. Who are the officers? Who's the manager of the Harvester Performance Center? Who are the managers of all those Performance Center LLCs? And a big question is, are they compensated? Because if Matt Hankins was the manager of Performance Center Building LLC, was he getting a little?
Well, we know there's kickbacks kicking around. I mean, there's no question in my mind that there are not under the table deals going on here. I mean, it's unfathomable that there aren't.
But that's the thing. You have to, let's get those documents out. I can't find them. And then you want to get the tax returns to see, what is it? Because
well, what I'm seeing here, and this can particularly, this is in regard to Midwood, and where I'm going here, as a third-party subcontracted company that provides the performing artists for the Harvester, what I'm seeing is, and there's a beer that's dropped, and that may not be one you wish to open. You've got an issue where there is no oversight. Okay, and this is becoming very clear now. The deeper that we dig into this,
but you can trust me.
Well,
it's $7 million.
No, that's not how that works. No. So we're seeing Midwood as a subcontracted performance artist booking entity that where money goes, I've got no idea. How much they get, I've got no idea. What their contract is, I'm still pretty vague.
Get that copy of the contract.
So I'd love the copy of their contracts. I'd love to know how much that we're paying them. I'd love to know all of their stats and data, because I don't think that's unreasonable for us to ask with regards to the Harvester. But I'm just seeing them almost as a rogue agency. There is no oversight. It's just, well, they're doing their thing and we don't give a crap about it because, once again, we're in the honey pot. Our hand is in the taxpayer cookie jar.
Other people's money.
Which is other people's money. And, there's certain situations, and I'll explain maybe on another show. Other people's money is a good thing.
I don't know if the mic should be on for that one.
but let's not go down that one just yet. But this is what we're dealing with when it comes to public funds and taxpayer money, and what we have here appears to be a distinct lack of oversight. There's some very shady stuff going on with regards to any of the the LLCs that have been set up. I've got great concerns about this whole. And it's not even a triangle. I don't know what it is. What is a 9-sided?
A Rubik's Cube.
Whatever it bloody well is.
That's only 6. Wait.
But something is horribly wrong here. And no one's stepping up. No one's stepping up from administration. No one is stepping up from anywhere to swing around and say, well, actually, you guys have been talking absolute horseshit on this show. Your accusations are completely unfounded, and you should all be, thrown.
Well, the people that are saying that are hiding behind.
Well, they're
aliases.
hiding behind an alias, and we know who you are.
But when the candidates had the forum at the $290,000 or grand at $290,000, a question was asked of the tax credits, and the mayor answered that the town did receive $1.3 million, but he didn't know where it went, which is the real problem.
The mayor didn't know. Who was the mayor at the time?
That would be Steve Engel.
Sorry, it was an important question.
Well, a huge question would be, how do you know 1.3 million?
He did know the 1.3 million number, but he didn't know, and he was saying you can just direct your questions to the town administration. Well, I've been directing those questions for years now.
And it's a private company. So, Steve Angle, you are at the helm of this ship. As far as I'm concerned, you're steering it.
That was a ship with a P, correct?
Oh, it was in the enunciation. That was very clever, Brian. I actually like the way you did that. Enunciation. It was a P. P for Peter. Yeah, you're steering the ship, mate. That could have been a T. Yeah, you need to come up with some bloody answers. because what's happening now is not even close to good enough. And there might be some phone calls going off to certain agencies that might be coming down, crashing through your damn door.
So, yes.
In short, yes.
So,
oh dear, I got to the point rather quickly.
Hey, we're talking about solutions here. That's certainly
Well, that's a solution.
so yeah, let's get, what is the contract? Where did the money go? All these things. Speaking of where did the money go, the town applied for,
Hang on, which entity of the town? Can we be a bit more specific about which entity of the town, which LLC of the town? Who was the...
I gotta be careful with how I say this, but I know the town applied using the harvester's name for the...
But that's just a shell, right? It's a building.
The building's owned by the town, but the company is the shell, but it actually has commerce. But I have no idea where the money is. I mean...
That purple smoke's coming out the back of my head again.
So the town, the harvester applied for the Small Business Administration's Shuttered Venue Operators Grant.
Ooh, now this was down to that nasty little thing called Wu Flu. Oh, some of you people like to call it COVID. But yes, let's...
So yes, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. And in September of 2021, the town received $1,296,013.10.
Let's say that number one more time.
$1,296,013.10.
Let's call it 1.2 mil.
1.3 mil.
1.3.
We'll call it 1.3. All right.
So 1.3 million was received by the harvester.
By the town. Oh, no.
Well,
was it the town or was it the harvester?
I don't know what account it went
because
into.
the shuttered venue would implicate that it was the venue of the harvester.
Right.
Would implicate.
Yes.
Because that was the affected maybe performance centre. But I'm being a little bit...
But
anyway, so where's this 1.3 million, Brian?
I'd like to know. I've tried to FOIA, and I'm a little disappointed. I know there are a lot of Barack Obama supporters out there, and his second executive order was on Freedom of Information Act, and it was probably the only area in which he and I would agree. But he basically said, FOIAs, when they come in, you treat it like it has to get out. You don't block it for any reason.
Absolutely, that's their design. That's their purpose,
and it should be. And as I FOIA multiple agencies, so sometimes I'll get information from the town, sometimes I'll get it from Department of Historic Resources, and when the two don't match, I have a problem, and so it causes me to dig. But in this case, the shuttered venue, there's this $1.3 million, and I want to see who actually applied for it, because I believe it was a town employee. And so therefore you've got a town employee affecting the finances of the harvester, and where is that money going?
Are they talking? You see, I'll play devil's advocate this one time. Take note.
Ooh, there's horns.
Oh yeah, this is the only time I'm going to do it with regard to this. If the town applied for shuttered venue funds
under the harvester name.
Oh, it was under the harvester name. Then the question's already been answered. I was just going to try and say, is it possible that they were looking for, all the venues that had to close their doors, other than Walmart and Kroger, and all the ones that the way you are going to spread a disease, they were allowed to remain open. But this is another rabbit hole. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. Don't do it. But it was for the harvester. So you've actually.
But it is, and the SBA does say this $1.3 million was granted to the harvester with the address and all that. Where is that money? Where is a full account? And that's what the the EDA needs to ask.
Was the address given the harvester address, or was it the town council address?
It was the harvester address, and you can find this on the SBA website.
Now that has to be. Now what are the tax implications on 1.3 million?
Well, that's the thing.
Probably not, actually. I would suspect it's a grant. There would be no tax implication.
But when the PPP,
but it's a private company.
Right.
It's a private company. No. You can't put your hands and nose in there because we don't own it. The taxpayers don't fund it. We don't lose $400,000 or $500,000 a year, and it's not the taxpayers that pay for this. So it's a private company. It's got nothing to do with us.
But that number goes
Wrong.
up. Right. So and then so where's this money? Get a proper accounting for it because at some point.
This is something new. I don't know if we touched on this in the last show, but this is a new number.
This is. It's similar. 1.3 million in tax credits, 1.3 million in shuttered venue.
Yeah. So this is, and these are not insignificant numbers. I mean, this isn't chump change.
No, I could do a lot with $1.3 million.
Oh yeah, what the hell is going on?
Hey, you want to buy a restaurant?
I would love to pay off my student debts and loans, and then maybe buy a restaurant, or at least maybe invest into a restaurant. But I need that $1.3 million first. So people, Patreon.com/Appalachian Podcast.
Well, why don't they put it there?
Hey, I suffered through COVID. I don't know. I didn't see any any podcast handouts or anything like that. Of course.
I've got a COVID story, but I ain't telling it on this show.
But one thing I was surprised, and I hope this comes up. Who is the main point of contact from Midwood, Harvester, and the town? Is it like the chairman of the EDA? They're the direct contact? Because, I mean, you would think, but what if...
Where's the contract? Because the contract would be the point of contact.
It should have that information.
It's a chain of command. It's as simple as that.
And and if the EDA is not involved at that level, that should be it's a red herring, but that should be a real problem for people.
Yeah, ding 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 ding. There's a flag.
But then and I'm going to speed up a little bit. The EDA needs to get basic sales data. How many tickets are being sold? How many concerts are being booked? What's the marketing on these shows?
How many tickets are being comped?
That would be a good one. I mean, we know pre-COVID, the mayor, resided he had to change his address to the front row of the Harvester because he was sitting there, every third night when they had a show. I think they had shows like 120 nights a year. So every third night, he probably had a different tax code.
Yeah.
And he would actually introduce the bands each night as well. Wasn't that part of the mayoral
since
gig?
When this really pisses me off, right?
The problem is it's a for-profit entity. So, yes, he could, invite people, but it's not official duties. And I'm sorry, it's just disingenuous because so many people complain that he was always occupying the front row seat when it should have been a paying customer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I'm saying, he did, though. He would introduce the band every single night as well, too. Like, he would go up there ahead of time and say, we just welcome this band to Rocky Mount, Virginia, or blah, 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 whatever their speech is. I'm pretty sure.
Is this in his job description? Is this contractually part of his duties?
Well, I will say, in a perfect world where, like, you have out in that Alaskan town where a cat is the mayor, in a perfect world, this would be the perfect job for a mayor to do. Yes, get out there in front of music venues, say, welcome to our community. We appreciate you coming, and here is whatever band is playing. Or cutting ribbons or kissing. I mean, that's what a mayor should be doing, not commanding.
No, hang about. This comes back on that. This little story that they would have us believe. It's a private entity. You've got... Oh, damn. I nearly came close. One nearly slipped out.
FOIA.
It was yeah, you were absolutely right. That was within a cat's whisker of coming out. He's got no business standing up there, lording it over everybody else. When it's a private entity, from all FOIA request standpoint, what the hell is the mayor doing there, lording it over and trying to get brownie points, whatever it may be? I'm sorry. The game is up.
Yeah. I mean,
don't get me.
Thank goodness mics can't pick up mouthing.
It's rather convenient.
You could probably think in your mind. You probably get a good visual.
There's enough people that know me know exactly what's coming out of my pie hole right now.
But yeah, I encourage everybody when this CDA meeting is up, and we'll get to the final couple of these questions, but hey, show up and start showing up for board of supervisors, town council, school board, Let's start making it a game. Hey, let's show up. If you show up there and you get stamped, you get to go to a bar around here and get a drink for free or something like that, or half off. Or we have a tailgate session somewhere, and encourage people. Hey, we'll tailgate in front. Hey, make it an event to where people are excited about going, whether they really have a vested interest in it or not. It doesn't matter. The more bodies that are in that room, the more they sweat up front because they don't know who all is really genuinely invested. They don't know who's there.
I laid a challenge down at the last podcast with Bryan, and I believe it was for transparency and all that good stuff. As any councilman, I know Philip's on board with this, and he would be, because he's the one that sowed that seed in my mind. But is there any other councilman out there that's come back and responded to that challenge?
No. Running for council or councilman, period, there are a handful that aren't running again this year. For all the ones that are running, no. Old Mr. Pinker did suggest I come over to his house like a WDBJ7 reporter with my Polly Pocket in my hand and give him an interview, but he doesn't understand we don't do interviews on here. We just sit around here and drink beer and talk and discuss. So I have no desire to carry all my equipment a couple blocks away down to his house. He's essentially, in my mind, setting it up to where you can say, well, look, I offered him to come over here and they wouldn't do it, but that ain't how this game is played. If he wants to come here, the invite's been out there. I'm not chasing anybody down. If you want to come on here, if you're that passionate about wanting to represent this town, then you should come on here and let the people know why we should vote for you. And he claims we've already made up our mind about him. Well, that's due to his. That's due to his comments and stuff like that. So I please just come prove me wrong. Come on here and just prove me wrong. That's all I'm asking you to do. So
I think these folks are scared of something called social intercourse.
Well, they've never. I mean, they don't understand what it's like to have their feet held to the fire. They've never felt this before. And
Sorry, that was my childish humor.
We all got that. We all very, very aware. But they don't. This is new territory for them. And Bryan, I know he's been making a stink about this for quite some time, but what's Channel 7? Yeah, exactly. What's Channel 7, 10, 13, or the Roanoke Times going to do for this? They're going to come write it, take him out of context, and then make him sound like a lunatic, make him sound like a conspiracy theorist. But when you put him on a long-form discussion like this, and you can explain things, then you start, okay, well, this makes a whole lot more sense than some 30-second blob
that's been heavily edited or redacted by a crayon.
Yeah, 5-year-old.
Oh dear. So Bryan, what else is on some of these questions you'd love to ram down Midwood's throat? Because that's what it's got.
Well, no, it's not ramming. I mean, I want the EDA to actually get information before the meeting, because here the problem being they only meet every other month. So if they show up and ask the questions at this first meeting, then you're going to have to give Midwood a chance to respond.
Another 2 months.
At the next 2 months, And so nothing improves. Nothing gets,
Nothing gets resolved. There is no big step forward. It's just like, this is common throughout all of these committees. And let's call them a committee.
Yeah.
They love to table, and not make a decision. And we need decision makers. We need critical thinkers. We need people that can fight on their feet and have a little bit of spunk behind them. You know what I mean? Get up and bloody fight and stand your ground.
Well, have a spine and not, don't put a price on your soul.
But also be humble. Like,
exactly.
No one's expecting everyone to have all these answers. Now, I was sold a bill of goods with the previous management that they knew what they were doing. And I'm going to say this again. The Harvester is a success in name only. Mm-hmm. It had a few big shows, but when you look at the actual numbers, the sales of tickets and so forth, it was a disaster. Financially, you look at the losses, it was a disaster. You look at the conflict inside the Harvester between just the personnel, and there were only like 5 of them. It was just nuts. Yeah. And then you look at the oversight, the management being former assistant town manager Matt Hankins and the former town manager James Irvin. You could sum them up in one word. They were charlatans. They didn't know what they were doing. They told everyone they did, and it was like they were pretending. And the whole,
You can do that with taxpayers' money, right?
Other people's money, baby. It's not.
Yeah, you can do that with other people's money. It's easy. It's not a problem.
And when you come back and hammer an investor, and let me use Philip, you're hammering, he's investing his money. right?
Oh, yeah.
He's making decisions,
He's got a vested interest. He's got skin in the game. These clowns have got nothing.
you know, and it's really kind of funny because what they do? They hammered him on his sidewalk, right?
Yeah.
Well, I recently FOIA'd. There's a sidewalk right across the street from the Burger Company down Franklin Street going towards Celeste Park. Well, it's not the best design, and it's not the best workmanship. So I FOIA'd for the engineering plans and the design of it. And guess what I got as a response?
This is a private company.
No, we're close. It's just a reverse. Because it's not a private company, the town does not have to have signed engineering plans or a design. They can just go ahead and build a sidewalk.
Wasn't that their big beef with Philip about engineers and whatnot?
Yeah.
And
So-
the fact that they don't have engineers on staff.
And
So one rule for me, one rule for
thee.
thee. Kiss my ass.
arse.
Yes, indeed. Oh, yes. Yeah. It's in the enunciation.
Well, all right. When you're talking about conflict of interest, I want to talk about something here because we were going to go into it on the last episode and we ran out of time. And this is something that a handful of other citizens have brought to my attention, and I kind of questioned myself. So we're going to hammer at you now in this section, John Boitnott, who is the town attorney. Now, if we are paying a town attorney to handle matters of the town, why are we outsourcing a lot of this litigation to massive law firms in Roanoke? And and isn't there also conflicts of interest with him? They're also representing town members, members of a council.
Yeah. Actually, this one blew me away. I wrote the town council back in 2021, and I got a pretty funny response from the former town manager. But I was going to speak after you at the last town meeting, and I didn't want to sour the mood because it finally seemed that people realized the election's getting close and that there's incumbents that did not want to lose, so that they acquiesced in a certain area. But, well, you got 3 minutes. Why don't I just read what I was going to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I had some stuff.
Hey folks, just wanted to take a quick second to talk about one of our sponsors for today, Foster's General Store. It's growing season in Virginia year-round now, so go check out Foster's for all of your growing needs. They have Fox Farm Soil and Nutrients, Humboldt Secret Supplies, Gaia Green, Dr. Earth Dry Amendments, as well as Coast of Maine products, Grove Bags, Fish Shit, and all your hydro tents and lights that you're going to need. You're supporting local. I've known these guys forever. They're phenomenal human beings. So go down there and see Charlie and Hunter and tell them you heard it from the Appalachian Podcast. You can catch them at 17175 Virgil H. Good Highway in Rocky Mount, or give them a shout at 540-489-0085.
Council, and they stare at you blank-faced and doe-eyed and all that. You get 3 minutes.
Familiar with that.
So I pretty much timed myself to a 3 minute, but I'll probably end up going over a little longer. So I apologize.
We got no buzzer here. You're good.
Yeah, we're not gonna beat you out. We might actually respond to some of it too.
So
What a concept.
All right, here we go. In Rocky Mount's Municipal Code, Section 3.14 begins, an attorney shall be appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the council. Section 4.1 begins, a town manager shall be appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the council. Rocky Mount's town council hired John T. Boitnott, Virginia State Bar number 21910, as its town attorney before it hired the former town manager, Clifton James Irvin. I wonder why he doesn't go by the name Clifton. He goes by James? Anyway, all right, I digress.
It's just,
Hey, you're on the ticker.
Come
Come on, man. Don't stop. Quick.
30 seconds. Shockingly, the town attorney provided legal representation to the former town manager on multiple occasions, whilst both were employed by the town council, a total conflict of interest. On February 15, 2017, while representing the town of Rocky Mount at the Stonewall Jackson Inn in Stanton, Virginia, the former town manager and his wife had an altercation in which the former town manager broke his wife's hand. The police were called and eventually escorted her to safety. As a result of the protective order, which I have a copy of that I went to the Montgomery County Courthouse for, issued against the former town manager, his ex-wife wrote, "He grabbed my hand and held it, twisting it while I cried, begging him to please let me go, that he was hurting me. He continued to twist until it snapped." End quote. Further, in the petition she writes, I am concerned he will kill me. He has numerous weapons, has shoved and pushed me before. Now, the former town manager was certainly no stranger to controversy. He has a sealed case, CL 1300-9106, which was reinstated just 10 days after this protective order was filed. Were the cases related? It does not appear that this was his first protective order or his first rodeo. Oh, next page. In 2015, he filed for bankruptcy, case number 15-70467, making him a huge liability to the town as he could not be bonded.
We've had that discussion on the last show.
To the town council. Did you know this? But I digress. I raised the town attorney's obvious conflict of interest in an email to all of you, being the town council, on March 8, 2021. It was no surprise that none of you responded. However, the next day, I received an email from the former town manager. In reference to the town attorney, he wrote, "He does from time to time represent employees and elected officials in matters that he deems not to be a conflict and will conflict out on occasion." End quote. In light of this known protective order, I would like to see an example of on occasion. Given the recent legal woes of town employees, given what we had Walmart, right? Town clerk trying to lift a TV. We had we had the town manager wreck a car at 3:30 in the morning on like a Tuesday morning.
Good Lord.
Wreck a car right here on Church Street, I think. Church or Orchard, whatever's one block up. And then you got the current assistant.
On a Tuesday?
But then we have a chief of police also with sexual.
Well, he's brought the lawsuits on the town.
Okay.
Yes. I mean it. And then you have the current assistant town manager
was this poor lady's assault and battery during an event that would be considered town business?
Well, I believe it was outside representing the town at a conference in Stanton.
Why wasn't he fired on the spot?
Well, the town attorney represented him instead of, and let me continue, but instead of taking this to the council, like, hey, we got a real risk here. But it's, you just ignore it enough and stuff goes away. But okay, so let me come back. Given the recent legal woes of town employees, it seems that this building provides fertile grounds to the town attorney for new clients and job security. So did the town attorney notify town council of the protective order against the former town manager? That's rhetorical, but there is no good answer to this question. If he did, and you took no answer, and you being the town council, took no answer, then this suggests that you are okay with domestic violence. Please try and explain this logic to your spouses, and I believe all of them are married. And if the town attorney didn't tell you of the protective order because of client attorney privileges, in the air quotes there, then you should question his professional judgment, loyalty, and commitment to the town council. I think those are the only, you could always have a million different ways, but those are pretty much the two major ones. He either said it and told you and you did nothing, or because nothing happened, or he didn't tell you, and then you got to really question.
There's really no excuse for either in this case.
As you said, neither answer is good.
And what if the town manager's wife was under the impression that the town of Rocky Mount was paying the former town manager's legal bills? Now, that would really tip the scales of justice against her if that, because we looked at the town manager's his employment agreement, and there's some real sketchy stuff in there. I think it's section 17. So here we go. So does the town attorney notify the town council when he's representing town employees or elected officials? It's a fair question. Well, 2 FOIA requests in May and June of 2021 specifically asked the town for any and all written documents between the town council and the town attorney. Both requests were returned claiming no such documents exist. Interesting, and this begs further review. In early 2020, the town attorney billed the town $26,271.58 for legal services by Woods Rogers for a, air quote again, special project. I found it to be odd that the town attorney would be billed directly by another law firm and then invoice the town for that amount. Could it be that the town was hiding information it uncovered on former Chief Kreiner? Regardless, large legal fees with no written agreements between the town and the town attorney must violate state budget and procurement law. I'm going to be honest, the way things are done in this town by the town council are breathtaking. There's more to follow. And here's where I know my 3 minutes are up. So at the next town meeting, I'm going to finish my multi-part series that I call Snapped at the next town council, which will be in November. Hopefully we'll have the election results in by then. Hopefully they'll go in a better way. I'm hoping for a youth movement. And this is kind of funny. I mean, Philip Bain is 56.
Yeah.
But he's part of that youth movement because Utes. That's right. You two Utes. But if you think of it, the 3 incumbents running are all older than dirt, I guess. And then you have Ben Pinkard, who is an octogenarian. So at some point, like even if you look at the national political level, all our problems stem from really old politicians. And it's time for a change. It really is time to just say, you know what?
Yeah.
You've had time to do it right, but you can't. So stop. Just bow out, please, because you're causing problems. And unfortunately, there are just people who do not pay attention, and they'll just vote the name as opposed to the purpose and the reason and the information. I mean, so.
Well, I'm hoping the engagement that this show has put out there is going to change that dynamic. I think things clearly are not going well, haven't been going well for a long time.
No.
I think your statement there that wasn't read to town council, I don't think I have any issue with any of those questions, and that they do require answers. My conflict, and it is a conflict. I'm good friends with John Boitnott. I've known John Boitnott for 15 years. These are not an easy interrogation for me to sit through. So it is uncomfortable. But I'm not saying that doesn't decrease in the validity of the question. It's just, it's tough to sit through having known the guy and still know the guy. I still see him, on the touchlines, playing kids soccer and so forth. And we always have a banter. We had a banter in Ippies. There was a very unfortunate incident there where someone was, I think, rather inebriated and behaved very poorly. But I think John dealt with that with great dignity. So yeah, I'm a little bit conflicted here. I'm just sharing that with the people listening. It is a conflict, and
well, that's how it gets with town politics. He came up to me that night and said something very, said he appreciated and enjoyed what I said, and this is not a personal attack against him because I don't know him from Adam, but there's discrepancies here. There are conflicts of interest here, and I think it's a great question as to why, if we're paying for legal counsel for the town, why are we outsourcing that to law firms in Roanoke that are extremely expensive, like Woods Rogers, Gentry Locke. They're up there.
We outsource everything, apparently. Midwood's a case in point. This bloody great big law firm in Roanoke is another.
But for us to be, and which one, it was not Irvin, it was Hankin that we were paying 6 months salary after the fact, after he resigned. So if he resigned, I don't know, that's perplexing to me, because in what world does you resign and get 6 months of pay after the fact? Like, that's...
Well, and he was employed 3 months after he had resigned.
Well, that should be a unemployment issue right there. That shouldn't be...
Well, that's a contractual issue. So who thought... I just, when you resign, it's, well, we've party company, we wish you all the best, and off you go. And into the sunset you stroll.
But there's no... But in the public sector, there's no golden handshakes.
Where is this written with taxpayers' money? Yeah, off you go into the sunset with 6 months of checks behind you. This is taxpayer bloody money. You've got to be kidding me.
And you're now at a locality that you're part of the county supervisor position, and you're making something equal to what the assistant town manager here in Rocky Mount for 5,000 citizens.
That tells you how inflated the salaries are
For this small town.
For this small town, they are overinflated. The fact that the guy has taken that position for a county position and he's paying a couple of grand less
Than the current assistant town manager.
The current assistant town manager
Again,
tells you all we need to know that that something is not being checked. There's no checks and balance. There is no there's no oversight. So and there's certainly no transparency. You've got to clear up all of those three things, and that isn't hard.
Well,
That's not hard.
And we learned from the former town manager that he had an annual review with the town council. The new town manager, or the current town manager, gets to just benefit from the raises he bestows upon others.
That needs to be torn up. That contract is a disgrace. I've never seen anything.
It's absolutely nuts.
I mean, this is taxpayer money that you're just frivolously going, oh, well, we'll take the average and he can award it. So he awards his underlings inflated salaries to which he benefits by getting the average back on his salary award.
That was one of the biggest concerns with a lot of people in the comment sections was the salaries of town employees.
So you cannot do that with taxpayer money. You're a damn crook, and if you thought that was a good idea, I'm calling you out on it right now. You're a damn thief.
It's kind of funny because didn't we have an incident at Walmart where somebody tried to take and that person gets an $8,000 raise. So, go ahead.
So the alleged town employee who... Was it alleged, or did this actually happen?
It happened, and here's a real problem. The interviewing officers were town employees. It should have been handled by the sheriff's department. So get this. So you have the town manager, who is the direct supervisor of the accused, and then the town manager is also the direct supervisor of the police chief and his underlings, right? So... I mean, this is part of the whole problem with the conflict of interest here. There is no way that word wasn't just sent to say, hey, we need to kind of keep this hush hush, get it under the rug, whatever. And I'm sorry if I'm calling out a current lieutenant, but it is wrong. That person should have known not to do the interview and should have called in the sheriff's department and just made it a whole separate thing. But this is the problem in small town.
Was that person is the person in question that committed the act still employed by the town?
Got an $8,000 raise.
So somebody that is not making enough money to where they don't have to.
$65,000 for an assistant, an admin assistant, or an executive assistant.
And you tried to.
Are you kidding me?
And you tried to steal something from Walmart and got caught. And still hold.
Well, I think they called it like repricing. You got to go back and look at the court case online. It's and again,
I mean, you don't want to dig over somebody else. I mean, you can keep throwing shit at the fan as much as you like, and none of us want to do that. But it gives you a history of some very poor decisions.
Over and over.
Yeah, and it's repetitious. I'll say that again. It's repetitious. Sorry, that was childish humour again. I couldn't help it.
It went over my head then.
It was a good one, I tell you. You can't do this. People, if you don't have personal accountability and responsibility, and you didn't expect to get fired for that, or you thought that you were going to get an $8,000.
It's like we always see, where there's a double standard. If it wasn't for double standards, town employees would have no standards at all.
Oh dear.
I've always heard that about Democrats, but go on.
Well, but this is very worrying because this trend, it just doesn't need. We don't need to just stop it. We need to crush it.
Well, but it only happens, unfortunately, through elections in which real change can be made.
Well, as soon as we, and that election is good for that one damn day.
That's 2 weeks away.
Right. So it's good for that one day. And you think that the person that you elect and that has been knocking on your door and has been telling you all the sob stories or has been making all these promises, and the very next day from being elected, look, I won the seat, fantastic. Let's all, go down to the burger company, get good and shedded, fill your bellies up, and that is the last you will see of them, and that is the last that they will be accountable to you.
There's two elections. There's whether it goes good
exactly.
and they stay open, or whether it goes the other way and they get shut down.
Well, and they can't do that either.
Huh?
They can't do that either. You cannot be manipulated or put in a position where, we're going to close you down. No, you're not.
Well, I'll stand up for myself.
You're damn straight, and we'll be standing right on your shoulder.
I think I have a lot of support, but at the same, unfortunately, people in government, they feel like they're empowered.
They are not. They are, and that's the worst thing that irritates me, is that they are not empowered. They are there to serve and facilitate. And if you think you've got one over me because you're in public office, I've got a big surprise for you.
That may be, but at the same, this is their mindset, and this is...
I'm not going to stand for that. That needs to be addressed, because as a public servant, you better take that off the table.
But And I got to go back to what Billy said at the end of the last one, where you were talking directly to the rank and file employees, knowing they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
They're coming in, working hard, and doing what really needs to be done. What we're talking about are the elected officials and the higher ups.
Yeah.
The ones that, unfortunately get paid the most and somehow do the most damage. So
I think it's been abundantly clear for several years now.
Yeah. This is the first election, local election, that has been moved to November, and it was again. I'm not a fan of the former governor Northam, but probably the one area.
No, neither am I. Not at all, actually.
But probably the one area that I agree with is that he signed into law the movement of the local elections from May to November, and I think that will actually help straighten things out, because what the mayor won with like 250 votes the last election. Well, there's going to be at least 1,500 votes this time around. So it's going to take a lot more than 250. And hopefully people really are paying attention and recognizing that, it's time. It's time
absolutely.
For a change.
There's been enough. And I've said this to a number of candidates that are looking to run. And they looked at me and kind of raised their eyes and said, well, Simon, what is your interest in Rocky Mount? I said, well, actually, even though I can claim that I have no skin in the game, and I don't, because I can't affect these elections. I do not have that voting right in Rocky Mount. My interest is in Rocky Mount being the jewel of the crown of Franklin County. So I do have skin in the game, and I've said to a number of the guys that are looking to run that I didn't have skin in the game. I actually want to correct that statement. I do have skin in the game, because I want Rocky Mount to be a thriving success and the jewel in the crown for Franklin County. And there's something I didn't touch on over all these shows. Why are no women running?
Yes, that I wish. I hope they're listening, because there are 3 people who I went and approached, and they were all women, about running. 2 of them for mayor, 1 of them for council, and it's something that needs to happen.
Absolutely. I'm not talking, and I do not want to go down the road of, well, we need to have 50% representation and diversity and all that shit. I am not that guy.
I'm a meritocracy person.
This is the best person for the job, and that is where that argument stops. But I want some ladies to be representative on that council, because I know that they've got the success, the track record, and the integrity to hold these positions. So where are they?
Yeah, please.
Are they bullied out by people that have been arrested for breaking their wife's arm during whatever? I mean, if this is what we've got, change the slate, change the record. We need ladies in representation here.
Yeah, I think there's a perception, a misperception. I think females running would get huge support across the board. because
I would hope so.
you're going to find that this town produces very smart women.
Oh yeah. This isn't something that is exclusive, to the knuckle draggers that we see around the
Troglodytes.
town. Yes, indeed. So I would love to see female and lady representation, on town council. Absolutely, across the board.
There's only one on the Board of Supervisors of Franklin County, one female.
Yes, there is.
And she holds her ground really well.
She is stellar. I'll say that much. I've seen her in operation. She's impressive.
So it is possible, but I would like to see. It's 2 years away. There are 3 more council seats up in 2 years, and I do hope, like you just said,
we need 3. You know what? And I don't want to do it to balance the books. Let's try and get 3 ladies elected in 2 years, and that would go a little. You know what? I think we would have a very interesting dynamic in some of these public meetings, and I think behind closed doors, it would be a different outcome.
I actually think somebody, and I'm not going to toot her horn, but I think my wife would be somebody phenomenal on the town council above me. For one, she's much more approachable, and she practices decorum a lot better than I do. But she's very dedicated and she's very thorough in what she does, and she isn't quite as influenced by me as a lot would like to think. Because there's a lot of times, she will talk me down. A lot of things she will, she'll be able to step in and kind of wind me back down. So she's not. Although I would expect her to listen to me when it comes to voting, and so if you like me, then you can count on her voting in that manner. But she thinks on her own, and people like her. People that are driven, she runs this household in a manner that I could never even imagine, and that's what you need. I mean, I'm sorry, like if the men on the council right now are anything like me, then their wife pretty much takes care of all the bills in the household, makes sure all the things are up to date. She handles 100 different things. All I got to do is protect and make money. So it would be in our best interest to have women who are quite a bit more thorough in their process than it would be I would make a terrible I'd make a great candidate. I'd make a terrible politician. I'm just going to slash everything. So somebody like my wife, somebody, and I probably have a good idea who you're thinking of as well. Somebody like that, and I know she would make a phenomenal town council member as well. But there's just a lot of people around here that.
Well, let's get. I mean, the ladies out there. Come on, you got.
Yeah,
you can't do it this round. You've got 2 years. Yeah. We need you to step up.
Create a block, a 3-person block, get together.
Yeah, I mean,
call yourselves a squad.
And let's hope,
don't do that. Whatever you do,
let's hope this November the voters seek change. That, and then you can have some things going forward, and then have next slate coming up 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Struck me a couple of shows ago.
In fact, it would actually be a real challenge for the 3 incumbents coming up. I think it's going to be Tyler Lee, Mark Newbill, and Billy Stockton. They should go and find the female replacement for their seat.
Yeah, I mean,
put that challenge out there. Find somebody that you trust to take your spot.
Yep.
And then bow out with dignity.
But no nepotism, please.
No.
We don't do nepotism. Billy?
You're looking at the wrong cat right here. Well, I know we touched on a lot of the stuff we touched on last week, and a lot of conflicts of interest here. But before, there was one more thing I kind of wanted to touch on that I did tease last week, and we kind of looked into. And I know Bryan had sent me an email about the report, but I wanted to touch on this Moducraft building out here on State Street, and I think that's important because I know, Simon, you had touched on this a few minutes ago. You said, you might not have skin in the game because you can't vote within Rocky Mount. There's a lot of issues that are voted on by Rocky Mount that do affect the county and do affect other taxpayers out there. And this Moducraft building, I brought it up last week, and, maybe Bryan can help clear the waters a little bit from my rambling trying to discuss it. But essentially, we're talking about a building that
is vacant.
It's vacant.
The Moducraft facility, I forget I'll look it up, but I forget the number of square feet. It's huge. It's like 200,000, or it's nuts, and it sits on 40 acres.
It's vacant. Where have we heard this story before?
So the owners of the owners of the Modcraft building, and I forget the name of the company. They were going to sell this building for $3.5 million to the county, and for some inexplicable reason, the mayor was just totally against it.
The mayor being Steve Angle.
Steve Angle.
The very same Steve Angle.
So the Board of Supervisors were thinking, and they had this presentation done by Spectrum, and there's a study that I want to get the actual study for, not just this PowerPoint. But I mean, they went through and kind of diagrammed out what the uses could be in this building. So you get the CTE education system would relocate over to this area in the industrial park, and it would not only just have enough room for the school, but then even the sheriff's office could take part, and there was a third.
Well, it's got room for expansion within the school itself, which the current area does not.
Right. So you could have your culinary arts, business, automotive, family and consumer sciences, within the CT, but then also, have like the backup data center.
Okay, so this is a multi-use
Facility that
facility
used
that
to build essentially modular homes in, so you've got massive.
So
amounts of
I
space.
mean, all the power specs are there, infrastructure is there, and at 3.5 million on a 40-acre lot, we've got the Board of Supervisors, obviously, having done this study, were looking at this as a hell of a deal and a great opportunity for the county.
Yeah. So, okay, I finally found it. It was 166,000 square feet.
Good Lord.
And when you look at it, I mean, the ceilings are so high, you could probably put in a second floor.
Oh, of course. It's all steel frame as well.
It's all right. It's not going.
No, it's not going anywhere. So this is a prime development for an expansion. But how can what you're saying here is that Steve Angle scuppered this?
Yeah, and it's
personally. This was him on his own merit decided he's going to throw something in the works, and it was a spanner. That's a wrench in American, right?
I guess
I thought I'd bring that one in. So he threw a wrench in the works.
I'm still stuck on ship work there.
So he threw that in. But surely the county has the trump card when it comes to that development. Because it's not town funds that would be putting in the CTE. These would be state and federal funds.
Well, so and county funds. So
what does the town council and the mayor in particular got to do with scuppering this deal?
Well, the building had to be rezoned.
Oh, la-di-da, that's another rubber stamp from someone in planning or where the hell ever. You make that shit happen. And this is rezoning in the town or in the county?
It's in the town. It's in the town. That's why the council had that. But the mayor had gone directly to Board of Supervisors and told them to their face that he was not going to rezone it, and he had the votes to do it. And he forced the Board of Supervisors to back away from the purchase of the building. So you have
on what grounds? Was it ever been divulged on what grounds he got a bee up his arse?
Well, there were some there were some meetings between the council and the Board of Supervisors.
Closed meetings, let me guess.
But only max of 2 members each. So you don't have a public record of what was being said. But in it was obvious that the
That's
council...
a little bit disingenuous to have multiple 2-person meetings. I'm just saying.
But that's the environment we live in. So it's
all right. Yeah.
But so now the 3.5 million just buys the building and the property. But
it's a great deal on 40 acres
on 166,000 square feet
with a steel frame 166,000.
And all fairly new too. This isn't something that's extremely old. It's probably built in
20 years ago.
Yes.
Right. So this, in my mind, is something that really should be resurrected. And
hopefully it could be, but who knows the way. Moducraft may no longer be interested in selling the property. I mean, there's a lot of problems.
How was Steve Angle allowed to get away with this?
Well, a politician with power to pull votes did what he,
What power has this clown got? Apart from 32 years of underachievement and failed just about.
Well, the implications of this is like you said, $3.5 million to purchase it. They're probably looking at roughly around $7.5 to $8 million maybe to renovate it.
No, probably closer to 30 or 40.
Closer to 30 or 40.
But a new building for just the CTE, I'm going to guess is going to hit $100 million.
It's going to be the big 100.
So you're looking
at
on the low end, $50 to $60 million more on the taxpayers for this decision, and we have no resolution
we've got
for
nothing.
this. We have no understanding of why it was tabled, what they planned on doing with the building, anything.
No,
to
they
that
didn't
nature.
table it. They didn't table it. He killed it.
Killed it by
By doing an illegal voting process, by holding multiple two-person meetings. You cannot do that in public office.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the entire timeline here. Somebody that graciously went out. It's pretty mind-boggling. It's pretty mind-boggling to think that something as simple as working hand in hand with the same county that is essentially, and that's something you brought up. Who answers to who here?
Yep.
The county or the town? Who answers to who ultimately in the end? Because the town council, the mayor, all the town employees are essentially unnecessary. They could all be absorbed by the county because the county and the town are essentially not. This isn't Roanoke City and Roanoke County with the city government and the county government. There's whole two completely different entities at work.
Very much so.
So who answers to who? Brian, do you have the answer to that? Do you know who ultimately? I mean,
well, they each have their domain. So you've got the zoning inside the town is controlled by the town council. But
these zoning Nazis, because this is what they are, whether they're for Franklin County or town council, I'm about sick to my back teeth of zoning Nazis affecting everybody's life. And this comes down to doing rental properties, short-term rental properties at the lake, development of whatever it may be on residential. Now we're talking about commercial proprietary here. That just blows my mind that as a 3.5 million, a 3.5 million deal has been snuffed out by one idiot.
So, and it's not like the council doesn't have relationships with the public school system. So the mayor...
Where was the public school system on this? Because this is what we were looking to make an addition to. So where the hell were where was the school board on this decision-making process as well? Because I bet they were bloody well involved.
They should have been. Whether they were or not, I don't know. But there should have been. I mean, they should have been lobbying hard for this.
Absolutely. It's in their interest. This is, I mean,
when you're
we talk about why we've only... Man, I don't want to go down here particularly. We talk about we've got an overpopulated high school. We've got an overpopulated middle school. We have a funding of transportation that really, because we've centralised everything in the largest county or one of the largest counties in the state, we have some costs that really are not terribly sustainable. And now you throw in bus driver shortages with all of that. We're in big problems with our public schools. Now, COVID and Northam and how the school board dealt with masking, closure of schools. I'm sure they were going to go down the compulsory vaccination road, but that got crushed, thankfully. The school board has a significant impact and interest in developing alternatives. We do not have the funds to make a second high school. That mistake was made many decades ago when we decided that we would centralise everything, which was a massive mistake in my mind.
They just don't be on on Franklin Turnpike at 3:20 in the afternoon.
Yeah, don't even go near that.
80 buses come out.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
Add an extra hour to your day.
But that whole centralisation was just it was a ghastly mistake. And it was funny. I heard someone from I can't remember. I think it was a school board member at the time. This is going back maybe 9 or 10 years. And he said he was talking about, the Eagles were so united because they're all on one campus. And, everything was hunky-dory and it was a united school within Franklin County. And it was a wonderful thing. And the very next sentence he swung around and said, but the worst thing we've got to deal with is these massive fuel costs and bus maintenance. And we just can't, I don't know how we're going to deal with all of this. And I thought, well, you caused this. So, you can't, there are consequences. So, yeah, I think the school board has a major impact and influence on development. And this was a great opportunity at $3.5 million and maybe saving $50 to $60 million from doing something brand new on a site that's been abandoned.
And doing something, and we all know me. We've had the conversations before. I'm completely against public schools. I'm completely against anything taxation, anything public. That's my bottom line. With that being said, at the very least, I live in reality, and my reality is I would much rather see my public funds go towards teaching kids how to do the basic jobs around here that will keep some of them around here and allow them to flourish. Maybe they don't want to go to college. Maybe they don't want to go far away. They're going to stick around here. Maybe they'll be an automotive person for 15 to 20 years. Then they'll open their own automotive shop.
Yeah, but let's not just talk about automotive here. When you're talking about CEC,
well, yeah, you're talking about a handful of things, HVAC or construction hair.
Who wants to go down the road of some of the degrees that gets you into debt slavery to start with, because that's what it is. And if anyone wants to have an argument about that, please come on the show, because I'm going to ram it down your throat. This is an environment and a society of debt slavery, and it's a damn disgrace. Now, if you can get out of debt slavery and start in your life without $90,000+ in student debt with a trade that pays damn good bucks, you can be an entrepreneur, you can run your own business. These are the skill sets that we need to be teaching our kids, not, ancient Aramaic or whatever the Greek alphabet was in 600 BC. I don't give a toss about
I remember taking an SAT prep class. And SAT is the premier test you're supposed to take to basically determine how smart you are and determine what college you'll get into, whatever. The higher the score, the better. I had an SAT prep class my senior year in high school, and the second half of the class every single day, which was about an hour and 15-minute class. So the last 30 minutes or so, the teacher, and this was in 1999, 2000, the teacher would sit up there in front of the class and read us Harry Potter. Would read us. Now, how's this preparing us for the SAT? If you're up there half the class, I'd sit there and just go to sleep. I don't give a rat's platoon about Harry Potter at the age of 19. I really don't. I haven't to this day. No. So why are you up there trying to read this to a bunch of, that's waste. That's waste. Those classes should be better suited for industrial trades, for things that these kids can go out here and if they want to avoid college. So I'm all for that. I'm all, if it's going to be something, then I'd much rather my money is going to be stolen from me go to support kids that are going to stay around here, who are going to develop skills and trades that will keep them around here so they don't have to go and debt themselves to the bankers and government for $100,000 on loans that can't be.
Well, my daughter was, she got into her head, and I think my wife swung around and kind of encouraged her with a tale about one young lady that had gone into welding from some convoluted class that she had been doing. Anyway, she got this wonderful welding profession and certification behind her, and now she's welding on, I think, aircraft frames and all that good stuff, and earning gobloads of money. So anyway, my daughter said, well, you know what, why not? This would be a great thing. So she goes to make the application in at Franklin County High School, and they swing around and say, oh, no, sorry, we haven't got the space. We can only take so many people. I'm like, well, there's an opportunity that's been wasted, and you can crush dreams with that. So if there was someone, thankfully my daughter wasn't, but, that could have crushed that little dream. Now, you need to be opening that door rather than slamming it in someone's face. Now, if you've got, and we know we have to expand, we're stuck with one high school, full stop. It's only ever going to, this is all we got. That's an opportunity. Why was it wasted? Why did Steve Angle be the sole person behind shutting and slamming that door in our kids' faces? Just because he got a bee up his arse.
And when that bond issue hits, I mean, there's a risk that it may not pass. $100 million is a lot of money. And
yeah.
And we don't even know. I mean, inflation just keeps going up and up.
Well,
and up,
why would we want to invest $100 million when the option is for 40? And we're taking out an abandoned, vacant building in the process.
It's not in disrepair.
Is this not a golden opportunity? You know, these
are the things that politicians are supposed to be set in place to take advantage of.
He's not a politician. Let's get that right now. Okay? I'm not going to get too insulting on the man, but I've had enough of that, and you've got to go, mate. Off you go. And that's without a 6-month golden handshake, by the way.
Which we can all go. We can all agree is completely unnecessary.
Yeah, you can't sabotage something like this without an excuse or without some reason. And I want the school board to stand up behind it and say, why didn't they push it through? I want the board of supervisors to swing round and say, we should have rammed this through and completely sidestepped Steve Angle.
I want to know what votes that you had that could have crushed it. I want to know who was going to vote against that.
And in whose public interest was that decision made? Because it certainly wasn't the tax-paying residents of this fine county and town.
We were completely unaware of it for the most part.
Now you're going to get stiff for $100 million instead of maybe 40.
Well, wouldn't it be nice? Had the board of supervisors just taken a risk and bought the building, they got the cash on hand.
Yep.
They could have done that.
Well,
so there's some culpability there, but
yeah.
But when they knew that the vote was going to go against them, they did the prudent thing, and there's no, you can't how do you say, criticize.
Well, after they bought Summit Springs or whatever the hell the business park is, don't tell me
and
about
the $5.5 million for the Glade Hill Fire Department, which I guarantee you is nowhere nearly as big or as spacious as the Modulcraft building. We're going to go into that as well too. But that's been difficult. So if you are listening to this show and you have any information on that Summit Park out there or the one behind it, there's two. The Summit Park I think is the one where the bank is at, but there's another one behind, or is that Summit Park? Whatever one it is, I think Styx is the only manufacturing joint that's in the manufacturing circle. Right? So it's an industrial park. Is basically what it was bought as. And I don't know much about it.
It was bought as a business park. There's a very subtle difference,
Well, whatever it was bought for, there's a lot of shadiness going on there that I've had people say, but you're not going to find anybody come on and talk about it.
Well, you won't do, but there's one thing actually whilst we're on that subject, and it will take 2 seconds. Light pollution in Franklin County should be criminal. What the hell is going on with those business parks and the light pollution that is going on up there? It is a disgrace. If you want to start cutting money and cutting funds, turn the damn lights off.
Yeah, you don't need all that. I agree with that. You don't need any of that.
I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's offensive. It's offensive. What is going on? Who thought that was a good idea? What clown? What town planner? Please, what engineer thought this was a good idea? Take your ideas and bugger off somewhere else, mate.
So what do we miss, Brian? What all do we need to touch on that we might have not went over?
Well, the EDA, we're going to get those questions up, and I do. I did miss the opportunity. I think we ought to get the town to start thinking, or the EDA to start thinking about embracing the Main Street program, which is revitalization of the downtown areas. The Virginia Main Street program, it's basically done for you. So this is a direct appeal to Daniel Pinard, the economic development director with the town. Stop doing what you're doing. He's doing a new website for tourism or whatever, and it's just busy work. Let's do something that really makes sense. And the Main Street program, this is the appeal to you, Daniel. If you get the Main Street program in place, that is a resume writer, that will set your career in any municipality that you choose in the Commonwealth. But it's more important to the locality and the community and the business climate. If you look at the other Main Street programs throughout Virginia, outstanding. Definitely take advantage of all the resources that they do provide you. But your job, I really think, should be repurposed and focused on the Main Street program. For the rest of the EDA, look for in the next couple of days to get these questions on the website. I'll ask that it get posted on FOIA Rocky Mount. You'll post it on Appalachian Podcast. These are questions that should be provided by Midwood.
Pick this initiative up. We're giving you an opportunity to get on track. These aren't unreasonable requests. And we need to do it in a timely fashion. This gives you that opportunity. So please, we're not asking you to ask every single question that's on there.
Yeah.
Not every single one. But you know what? It wouldn't hurt.
No, information, sunlight, best disinfectant ever. You got
to start somewhere.
Yeah. And
because at the moment, you're behind the ball.
If you show up on November 22nd and you don't have answers to the information or the answers to these questions, and you're going to sit there and look like what town council does is ask questions that they should have already known the answer to before they even walked into the meeting.
It's redundant. Don't be redundant.
Get the information, get more information than we ask. And really, get Midwood to actually think about it. The whole thing is the harvester needs to be a success.
Yeah.
But until you can address and answer tough questions and make some tough choices, it's just going to flounder. I'm sorry, 3-4 shows a month just ain't cutting it. I think they've got all of 3 booked in 2023 so far. 3 shows, 2 or 3 max. So it's like you're not even trying. You're not even, so why are you getting paid?
Where's the oversight in allowing this to continue? And I'm going to leave it at that. We'll see you on November 23rd. 23rd. If they don't have answers, we'll be on the horn.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I think that's important as well here too. I think through all of this, I think it's very important for anybody listening. Look, start holding people's feet to the fire. Start asking questions. And I'm going to quote and simply for the fact that nobody can hold our feet to the fire here, because I'm going to be quoting just a moral individual and a progressive leader, a very solid mouthpiece for the Democrat Party, Representative Maxine Waters. If anybody knows who this individual is, I'm just going to quote her.
Do you realize you're within about 4 feet of being assaulted?
Well, I'm just saying that her words were, we got to stay on the street and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational, and we've got to make sure that they know what we mean when we mean business, essentially. She's absolutely right. Like, there's only so much we can do here. There's only so much you can do with voting. But as we've stated here before, politicians mostly, for those couple of days on election day, they got your attention. And after that, we've spoken about this before. You go in front of the council, you state your piece. They just kind of look at you googly-eyed, and the next month, hey, look, if you see these people out in public, walk up to them and just ask them the questions. I'm not saying get confrontational with them. I'm not saying scream at them, but ask them questions. Make them sweat a little bit. Ask them, where's this money going? Let them know that you're there thinking about this, because we can sit here and get on these podcasts all day and scream until we're blue in the face. And Bryan can do all this exceptional research work, and Philip Bain can do all this exceptional research work till they're blue in the face. But
don't make it for naught.
But if you're not going to show up and show your anger and show that you want answers, then they're going to continue to do it no matter how much we scream up and down on this show. And I know we've got a lot of response out there from people. Start showing up. Let's start having a tailgate for the town council meetings, for the board of supervisors, all those things. We'll tailgate somewhere. We'll go somewhere afterwards. We'll get 10% off our meals or whatever drinks if you get your stamp there. Let's make it an event, because the more people that show up there, regardless if they're there for legitimate reasons or not, the room gets a little warmer. Bodies make the room get warmer. And you start feeling that heat just a little bit, whether you intended to or not, that heat is there. Start holding these people accountable when you see them out in public. Speak to them. Send them private messages.
Be polite.
Be polite, but be like, look, we've got questions here. And
you cannot,
and you'll be able to judge. You'll be able to judge from their response. if you got any ability in reading people, whether they're legitimate or not, and then take that for what it's worth and go back and tell your friends, tell people, share this episode, let people listen to it, share with your elder, your grandparents, your great grandparents or something. Show them how to. I know my grandma, God bless her, she's in her mid 80s. She knows how to get on a computer and listen to this kind of stuff. Show them the webpage. Sitting around instead of watching Wheel of Fortune, have them listen to this show because they're going to be voting as well. Because the elderly people in this town get out and vote, and they have a huge responsibility right now because their votes are going to count for their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren.
They understand their constitutional duty in that regard.
Exactly, but if they don't know this is going on, then they're just going to keep voting for the status quo. So you got to tune them into this, let them listen to it, pull it up on their computer, say, hey, listen to this during the day. It ain't very hard. I mean, just get this information out there just for questions. And as always, anybody out there that wants to counter these conversations we have, you have an open invitation. All you got to do is, hey, our email address is on our Facebook page. Go send me an email privately if you want to come on the show, if you want to dispute any of this. To this day, we've had no town official reach out to us. We've had no media officials from any of our prestigious local media sites. We've had none of them reach out to us and ask us for questions or comments. So we're providing you this kind of stuff. And I think their silence is deafening on the matter. So that should lead you to question quite a few things.
Oh, no, I agree 100% here with what Billy's got to say. I want to encourage people to make comments. And you know, the serious comments, we do read them. You know, we will put them out there. Everyone else can see them. If you've got time and you can scroll through all the comments, some of them can be quite entertaining. But I'd also like you to make comment and stop Billy from quoting Maxine Walters, because if he does that again, I think I'm going to choke him.
Well, hey, I'm just saying, I am using their rules against them.
Well, I suppose that was one strategy.
So nobody can really get mad at me because all the conservatives will completely agree when you get out there and hold their feet to the fire. And any progressive out there can't go against it because you're progressive Lord and Savior from the California E1D9 district.
Oh, I know what you did there, Billy, but it just made me choke. And what I was about to throw up wasn't going to be nice.
Well, she's a reprehensible human being. But on that, she was right to some degree. But everybody should be held to make them uncomfortable. That's what you have to do. And make them uncomfortable at the voting booth. You know, make them uncomfortable by asking them questions that they're not, that they may not be prepared to answer, but they should be prepared to answer. You know what I mean? Like make them realize that we are paying attention.
That forum isn't available. Okay, so and getting any response from a politician, whether local, regional, national, or whatever, that forum is not available, and for good reason, and it's by design. So I would like to have the big word transparency. And particularly locally, you have the ability to do it. We all live in the same town. We all live in the same county. So all our interests really are one. So, don't hide from us because you are not the oracle. You are not the solution. We are. We the people. And I'll leave it at that.
Bryan. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, thank you very much again for having me. Really enjoy it. Quite humorous.
Oh, as usual.
And I'm just going to state it again. I really do want the harvester to succeed. I do want people to become more involved. I think, I'm doing FOIAs every week. And it is shocking to get some of the information back that we get. And I think people should just really understand that, they don't have to be afraid. FOIA, they can't do anything to you for FOIAing. And if they did, it would come back to haunt them in spades. So it's just,
I commend you for your diligence. It really, it's.
Yeah, I wish we could really put into perspective how much work he's done.
Well, it's half a tree.
But the irony, well, that's just a fraction. But the irony is, I will FOIA the same information from town, state, federal agencies. And it is interesting, like I didn't bring it out, but for instance, when the harvester had to say how much it spent to be developed, well, they brought in a CPA law firm, Dixon Hughes Goodman out of Richmond, Well, the town spent over $15,000 on this service. It's 4 pages, but I couldn't get it from the town. I had to get it from the state. And it sits there, and it's really kind of interesting. So I'm like to the town, where's this document? Oh, we don't have it. Well, I'm like, wait. You spent $15,000, which means it had to go through a procurement of some form.
Somewhere.
And it documented your expenses, and the state had it, but why doesn't the town have it? And it's really, so it's things like that are just shocking. But, FOIA's, yes, set a limit of how much you're willing to spend for the information, because they can charge you for their time. But for instance, I FOIA'd emails, and it cost me $2.12. It didn't take them any time to search it. They have to be honest, and in some respects, I'm kind of glad that they were honest on this occasion.
Unless you're doing business on a private email account.
Well, yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I mention that?
Yeah.
Damn it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Those things need to be talked about, of course.
That may require a subpoena, not a FOIA.
Yeah, hopefully.
Which, hey, isn't out of the realm of possibility.
But anyway, again, thank you. There's opportunity to get things in a better place for the town, to make the Harvester that gem that we all know it can be, but just from its inception, it's just been misguided by charlatans, and now is an opportunity to kind of correct.
Put.
Yeah, and so now is an opportunity to get back on the track. Let's pull up to the station, do the heavy lift to make it a success. And believe me, I have a few ideas on that, but it's not for the current crowd.
Let's see what happens after the election.
Agreed. Yeah, that's a very good point.
As far as the election's concerned, get out there. Hopefully we'll have one more show between now and then. I don't know if it'll be a candidate forum, because we haven't had anybody but Philip Bain respond to wanting to come back on and discuss his campaign.
Well, we've also had Holland on.
We did have, I'm saying after the fact.
But after
for the candidate forum, like, we want to get multiple guys on here.
Oh, that's next Tuesday.
Hopefully, I know Simon has been talking about maybe doing the farmers episode. Maybe we can get that in before the election as well, because it'll be kind of important to talk about. But no less, I mean, as far as I sit right here, I will say, go vote Philip Bain for one. Get him in there. Get Ben Mullins in there.
I mean, by all means, drop suggestions in when you're commenting about what you want to hear about. If something has upset you, or you want to crow about something that's a remarkable success, let us know, because we'll be the first guys to put it out there. I want to be known for not dissing on people or being the hatchet man. I want to be congratulating people for success. And let us, we can all go through this, but if you want something to be looked into, give us a holler.
And we will. And I know a lot of people have emailed us, and we've gotten back to some of them, and we'll eventually try and get to your gripes and your griefs. We'll eventually get there. But, to just send this out there, we're not done. So if you're sitting on the town council, you're in the mayoral position, or any kind of position that's up for election this go round, this is an election thing for us. If regardless of the outcome, we're going to still be talking about this after the fact. You don't wipe that sweat off your brow if you make it through election, because we're not going to stop. Hopefully, here in a few months, maybe we can get Bryan back on here again and talk about some other things. Because there's so much in detail all here that we haven't been able to get to everything. Maybe we can talk about. It's tough for us to talk solutions when we don't have enough answers on our end. And by answers, I mean, where's the money going? Where did the money go to? Well, who's in control of the money? Once we start getting these answers, then we can start talking about more feasible solutions. Because the solution right now is to find out a way to get the harvester, for one, in the hands of capable management. And how we do that is just based on us. We need to make sure, for one, we go vote in this election, and two, continue to hold feet to the fire until.
Well, we're gonna let's see. I mean, this was embryonic at the moment. I may drop a clanger here, but we can always walk something back, right? Everybody else does. The December the 2nd, Rocky Mount.
Come home to Franklin County Christmas.
Come home to Franklin County Christmas. I believe we'll be in the foyer of the Morris Hotel. And let's make that a live show. I mean, come in and have a chat.
Yeah, come sit down.
We'll sit down. We'll be there. And we'll it may not be live, but we'll certainly be able to record a load of people's comments and come in and rattle the cage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on.
Anything you got nice to say, anything bad to say, we'll be sitting there and And hopefully we can get all of your...
Behind bulletproof glass and 2 closed locked doors.
And under 3 minutes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, and we won't keep you at 3 minutes.
But hey, you touched on something that I forgot. Next Tuesday on November 1st, there's a candidate forum at Living Proof Brewery. 6:00, I believe, is when the... Anyway, so I would...
That's a great plug.
I'm going to be there. I hope you guys
Next
are
Tuesday,
there.
6:00.
Tuesday, November 1st, 1 week before.
Beer and candidates. It doesn't get better.
Yeah, I think we can go there and introduce ourselves to the rest of them.
I'm really excited. Living Proof. I am a beer drinker. I've got a great selection of bourbons, but I don't drink bourbon. I drink beer, and that's how I get my shape. And Living Proof has great beer.
I've
I'm a
got a
fan.
song about that, but I cannot sing it. I dare. My wife will kill me.
Alrighty, so until the next time, for Brian. Jesus Christ. I'm thinking about my brother for whatever reason. Brian, Simon, I'm your host, Billy. Thank you again for tuning in. Check us out, Facebook, at the Appalachian Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff, and patreon.com/the Appalachian Podcast. If you want to donate to us or get some of the subscriber content, which is some of the shows that we haven't released yet. And hopefully in the future will be maybe a once a week 30-minute rant from Simon, myself, and maybe a different guest every week. Maybe we bring in Amos one week. Maybe bring in Brandon from the state of Appalachia or something. And we just kind of talk about maybe some of the more national and regional topics or something. So that's something hopefully that'll be going on here in the near future. So we appreciate all your support on that end. And for the Rocky Mountain Burger Company, one more time, was at 467 Franklin Street. Go down there, get you a good burger, wings. Sundays are great, football, hanging out. And I'm sure here in the near future as well, Simon and I will be going down there and having an event or two. Maybe we'll do a live podcast or just go hang out and get a ton of people down there. And let's keep everything in check about these town council meetings and stuff. Let's figure out a way to tailgate for that and get people involved.
Let's engage.
Let's engage. So thank you all again. And until next time, we'll see you around.